So to start off with, this is where we left off in the previous video. We had conquered most of Indonesia and India. There are just some parts in the east that need taking before I can start going into Australia. So one of the first things I did was actually go to closed economy because I was really struggling with resources. And as you can see here, I was trying to see how long it would take for me to get full resources from Guangxi Clique. It was quite a dire situation. I launched a naval invasion into the eastern part of Indonesia, which ended up being a resounding success. From there, we managed to push into the remaining parts of the eastern part of Indonesia and also into Papua New Guinea, which would allow us to have a staging ground into invading Australia. After occupying that territory, the first functional tank divisions were deployed and were put in place to invade Australia. The naval invasions into Australia were then launched, and each and every one of them was a success. We had landed in Sydney, and that paved the path to capitulating Australia. It wasn't long until the Australian front lines had completely collapsed, and we found ourselves driving through the Australian countryside, occupying all the land in the country. I then launched a series of small invasions into the remaining Australian holdouts to finally control the rest of Oceania. These were of course successful, and we managed to take control of the entirety of Oceania. From there I looked eastwards towards America and started island hopping across the American holdouts in the Pacific to try and make my way to the American coast. After that, I decided to plan naval invasions around the Filipino cities of Apari, Dagupan and Manila in order to aid in taking naval superiority in the South China Sea and the Pacific. Each and every one was successful, although the resistance in the capital of Manila was heavy. Here you can see the kind of battles I was fighting throughout the campaign in the Pacific. We're not dominating each invasion, but we are pushing the American forces back enough to capture each island, eventually making our way to the east coast. The resistance in the south of the Philippines proved to be very strong, and so I was forced to launch a naval invasion to the south, which did eventually lead to the capitulation of the Philippines and the occupation of the archipelago. Before landing in the US, it was vital that I captured Hawaii, and so I began preparations to invade those islands. Eventually, with the help of my fleet, I managed to gain naval superiority and launch the invasions into Hawaii. Each and every invasion was a success. We captured Honolulu, which led to the fall of Pearl Harbor. From there, I began to plan naval invasions from Hawaii to the American East Coast, which hopefully would eventually lead to the capitulation of America. At this stage, this is what the Co-Prosperity Sphere looks like. We have managed to push out all major Allied holdouts in Oceania and the Pacific. We're now just looking to expand our sphere into North America. After fully committing to the naval war in the Pacific, we found ourselves getting into small-scale battles with the Americans and consistently coming out on top. It seems we learned from the previous failure against the Brits. In order to counter the American submarines, I decided to build dedicated anti-sub destroyers which would help maintain my supply lines. This is what Europe's looking like at this stage, by the way, if you were wondering. Nothing interesting's happened apart from the Americans have landed in Sicily, basically. We have also began researching nuclear technology, for no particular reason, not for any kind of meta alternative dimension revenge or anything. I then built up the supply hubs and ports in Hawaii so that I could sustain a larger naval invasion force before launching a full-scale attack into America. I then gave my fleet orders to take control of the Eastern Pacific, and then we launched our naval invasion into America. The naval invasion was going smoothly, and we had everything that we needed to... and somehow some American forces landed in Honolulu. I have literally no idea how that happened since we had full naval supremacy in the region, but I ended up pushing them back out. Just a minor inconvenience in the end. We landed on the American East Coast not too long after, and we captured the major cities such as Los Angeles and San Francisco with little to no resistance. From there we started to push deeper into the east coast of America to establish a proper foothold and a proper supply line. At this stage, I had managed to get complete naval supremacy over the entire Pacific Ocean, which saved me from a lot of stress regarding supplying the American army. I also decided that now would be the time to use the tank divisions I made. We could finally put them into proper use. From here, it was mostly just about battle planning until I couldn't any longer, so that's exactly what I did. It was also important that I had air superiority and CAS support to speed up the progress on pushing through mountains and weakening the American defence. To speed up the war even more, I contacted sympathisers within the American government to organise a collaborative government under my rule after the current one capitulates to my forces. The rest of this campaign in America is pretty boring, so I'll just skip through it quickly and stop at any interesting events. Here you can see that my push into Mexico didn't quite go as planned owing to a lack of supply in the region, so I made the unfortunate but necessary decision to pull all of my forces in Mexico out. We'd get them next time. To cover the entire front, I did have to move troops from my border with Germany to the American front, and so you will see a flood of troops coming in from the west. Here we actually managed to get some good naval battles. We got into one battle where we even sunk the pride of the fleet of the Americans, so the naval war was going in our favour. We then found ourselves in a large-scale naval confrontation against the Americans off the east coast of America, but with our large advantage in heavy and light attack, we easily came out on top, damaging their aircraft carriers and battleships. The Americans then attempted a small counter-naval invasion in North Mexico to cut off our supply lines, but with our superior navy sinking their convoys as well as our battle-hardened tanks helping to crush the invasion force, we easily pushed them back out of Mexico. Thanks to our collaboration government and our occupying of all American soil west of the Mississippi, the American government capitulated before we could even reach their capital of Washington. We had done it. With America gone, Asia, and more importantly the rest of the world, was our oyster.